Secretary, you mentioned that the National Guard will be involved in administrative support for mail ballot applications. Will they also be involved in election night counting? Are there going to be any other steps taken as far as new machines that are purchased? Or are we going to kind of have a similar election night that we just had on primary day?
So the National Guard, thank you for the question. The National Guard, let me be very, very clear because we thought long and hard about this, is only going to help with the opening and sorting of mail ballot applications. That is it. Once those applications are done, which basically ends October 13th, they're off the scene. They will go on to continue to do all the wonderful things that they do as guards. And then so the machinery and the staff and everything else will work the way the board has been running it, along with the local boards of canvassers from there on.
So we should expect final results like on Thursday, like last time, do you think?
That would be a Board of Elections question, and it's very hard to say right now, I would say.
Okay, and
let me just say one thing about delayed. So across the country, secretaries of state from from both parties are trying to instill on people the fact that this is a different election because of the shifting to more mail ballots, because of the different methods that we're providing due to the pandemic. It is to be expected that the election results will take a little bit longer. I can speak for Rhode Island voters here. They should be able to trust the results here. We have an open process. We have tons of people involved in it. It may take a little bit longer, but the results are going to be good ones. And we're going to have a safe and secure election cycle.
is this the new normal going forward, though? I mean, even if the pandemic is over in a year or so, are we going to see elections with more mail ballots going forward? And will this, or are we going to go back to the old way?
I think that the pandemic has changed our lives in ways that are certainly going to continue to evolve and move us forward. Early in-person voting passed as a law, not just for the pandemic year. Right. It passed for good. Mm-hmm. So clearly there are going to be changes. With regards to mail ballots, we'll have to see what the appetite is of the General Assembly to make changes, because a lot of the adjustments that we've done to the mail ballot process have been through executive order.
Right.
So.
Secretary, could you clarify what's happening 20 days prior to the election, that process, and will those votes actually be counted during that period?
Can I have the Commissioner speak to that? Because that's actually the role of the Board of Elections. So I'm going to move this one.
Yeah, thank you. And I wish my executive director was here to answer that. I think what happened for this election that I can't tell you will change is those results, I think, came in the morning after the election day and were tabulated then. And then moved on to the mail ballot application. So I think you can get more from the staff of the Board of Elections, but that was my understanding for this statewide primary election. And that, I mean, I can't say it will change, I can't say it won't, but that was the way that those tabulations were set up in, I believe, in the legislation.
And the board, and thanks to the executive order, will be able to 20 days before start processing.
Correct, that's right, yes. So they will be able to start processing, thanks to the governor's executive order, as they come in, so that it's not waiting until right after the election, which we know the volume, especially that we're going to see for this general election, that executive order will be critical.
And when you say processing, that doesn't necessarily mean that the votes will be publicly counted, because I know some candidates were concerned maybe that would sway people that far out. They say, oh, my candidate's winning, I don't need to actually vote for that.
Yeah. This is not a new procedure for mail ballots. Yeah. They've historically done this, and the results are never revealed during the count process.
No, and I don't believe so.
We saw a lot of consolidation of polling places in the primary. There were some, I visited some that had active races with literally 0 people turning up. So are we talking, or is there any conversation about further consolidation of in-person voting going into the general?
Not yet. I expect that there will be further conversation, and I think that will be an assessment on behalf of the staff and the boards of canvassers, maybe analyzing the data that you mentioned, anecdotally what you saw looking across all those polling places. But important to note that I think not every city and town had an election, and I think with the general, we'll have to really look at that data and understand how we can make sure that we have enough polling places for the turnout that we think we'll see that day.
Secretary, we have a virtual question for you.
Okay.
This is from Kathy Gregg at the Providence Journal. She asks, under what authority are you sending mail ballot applications to everyone? Does this require legislative approval or an executive order from the governor?
No, the mail ballot applications are being sent just as I would send any other piece of correspondence. We do have the federal funds that have enabled the paying of the postage and the printing for that mailing, thanks to the hard work of our congressional delegation and the COVID CARES monies for elections.
And I have one more. We can absolutely open up to the floor after this. Ed Fitzpatrick from the Boston Globe asks, does the state need more DS-850 mail ballot counting machines? And are you, Secretary, urging the General Assembly to pass any legislation, or the governor, to issue any executive orders for the November 3rd election? So does the state need more DS-850 mail counting machines?
I would think that the board right now is evaluating the process, and I can't speak for the Board of Elections. I have not heard that we need any other additional machinery. And then the second question was...
Are you seeking any legislation to be
seeking
passed,
any legislation.
or for the governor to pass any executive orders?
At this time, we're all set with regards to executive order and legislation, but as we review the process, there's always the opportunity to perhaps have to go back to the governor. Again, we're in unprecedented times in the pandemic. Right now, we're on a good path. But it's hard to say with the weather changing, everybody going back to school, we'll see what the community needs are going forward. Anybody else? Any other questions?
I have one more from Kathy Gregg from the Providence Journal. What exactly will the Rhode Island National Guard do? Open envelopes, match signatures?
Okay, again, let me be very, very clear. The Guard will only be opening the envelopes, unfolding the paper, putting it into piles that are sorted by city and town. And that's it. I know that doesn't seem like a lot, but it is. It allows us to have an accurate stacking by community of those applications, smooths out the process significantly. And we've done all sorts of improvements on the auditing of that process to address any concerns that people might have that their application hasn't gotten somewhere. So that the Guard will not be evaluating the content of the applications, and they will not be anywhere near the ballots themselves.